you doing? Roll!
Just drop and roll!
Jesus! What a bad idea.
What is going on, Fireside fam? Yeah, I'm decked out in my Bill swag and ready for a killer game. So for those of you that are here right now, thanks for letting me bump up the time 2 hours. Much appreciated. Listen, I am minutes from Highmark Stadium, and something tells me we're going to be seeing a lot of smashed tables today, and hopefully people avoid catching fire. That's important. And hopefully this is going to be a casualty-free game. The only casualty I want to see is the Chiefs 2023 football season. So yeah, we're all pumped up here. And hey, if you're a Chiefs fan, it's okay. Don't leave. We have an open door policy here for everybody. So all are welcome at the BFC. So before we get into it, make sure that you guys hit the like button, subscribe, and share this content with your trader and investing buddies, because the BFC is not stopping. 2024. This is it. This is the year of the Fireside. All right. So enough of the formalities. Let's get on to our first guest. Here to discuss ticker BIXT, Bioxy Tran, and back for his third round at the BFC is none other than Mike Sheikh. Let's bring him in. Mike, welcome back to the BFC. How you doing?
E-Rock, I love the garb.
Well, I got to be in spirit here. And you know what? When I had Adam Thomas, the CEO of Trans-American Aquaculture, when he actually had the Bills hat on, I'm like, what am I doing? I had to put my hat on. I'm like, I got to get with the program here. So yes, Bill swag it is. How have you been?
Great. Glad to be here.
So I know this is just a brief update to kick off the year, but I want to talk a little bit about 2023 and you know what successes you had and what we have to look forward to this year. What were some of your accomplishments at Bioxy Tran?
Well, the number one accomplishment here we had a peer-reviewed clinical trial. We had 88% of people testing PCR negative in 3 days. So basically, they're over the virus, you know, for all intents and purposes at day 3. And when you compare that to, you know, the standard, which is, you know, 50% of the people get better in around 8.5 days, that's big. Okay, it was statistically significant, and statistically significant. It was with the p-value of 0.001. I mean, this was big news. I'd say that's probably our largest accomplishment. So here we are. We have a phase 3 ready, IND in India. We've initiated a dose optimization study. We can get into, you know.
So the dose part has started. The dose part has started for the phase 3.
It's initiated. Starting means dosing. Okay, how we dose the patient yet? We'll put out a press release when we do, and we can talk about the challenges. But we'll stay focused on what our milestones are. So the other thing that we had was U.S. IND. You know, we got the approval to proceed there. That's also big. And then we also had some in vitro testing done. And our in vitro test showed that it worked in influenza, RSV, and COVID. You know this thing they call the triple demic? So the idea is, you know, this would be the standard of care in the future. This is a hypothetical situation. And you take this, you're like, oh, you have an upper respiratory tract infection, here, take this. And it'll cover, it's like it has broad spectrum antiviral activity. And I could really say, after doing enough research, there aren't any broad spectrum antivirals. This is truly the first of its kind. And we think it could work on a whole bunch of other viruses. So that's what we've done. Now, what are we looking forward to in the future? Well, obviously, our first milestone here is dosing the patients and completing our, the dose optimization study, which is required to start a phase 3. The other thing that we need is we need funding. We need funding to move the ball down the field into the end zone. That's an honor of your bills, right? So we need that So we'll need to find that right partner. Now, how are we going to do that? The ball's up in the air, and maybe we're going to discuss that a little bit later. But we also have some studies in the works. We're very, very close to a shingles study being released, albeit probably in preprint. I think and we can get into that. We tried via the normal routes, but they want more than one anecdotal study. That was using a galectin antagonist, topical galectin antagonist, but it applies to us. Yeah, and that's so. Those are some of the things that we're looking forward to. Is really moving forward with clinical trials. We can also do some more in vitro testing. So this is all part of our strategy, multi-pronged strategy to move the ball forward. And then, of course, we're still talking to small pharma, or trying to get a hold of small pharma and talk about our value proposition.
Right on. So I got to ask just a quick question. How big is the control for this phase 3, give or take?
The phase 3 is going to be 400 patients total,
Okay.
roughly 400. I think it's 410, and then half of them, so around 200 would be the control.
Okay, you did mention funding, and I know that seems to be an issue across the board, especially as of late.
All biotechs.
Based on your experience, describe the funding climate for biotechs, for small cap and startup companies now. Is it favorable versus unfavorable? I think I sort of answered that in the question, but talk to us a little bit about that experience.
Well, it's hard. Like you should also talk to your next guest about that. What these guys are looking for is they're all about structure. They don't care. They care about the stock price. They care about the liquidity. They don't necessarily care how great the science is. It's irrelevant to them. So the first criteria is with your share structure. Now, the good news for us is our share structure is pretty tight, really tight. If you think about it, we got around 25, maybe it's 30 million in the OS, in the float, and our volume's like 150,000 shares a day. I mean, no one's selling. That's the thing. So what happens if there's some sort of catalyst in biotech? What if OTC lights up? We're going. With that thin afloat, it's been consolidating forever. It'll go. And structurally, where our debt is at. Our debt's priced. The debt that we do have is priced around 13 cents. We're trading below that. So the guy's losing money if he converts.
Yeah. Okay. I want to talk about the Form 4, the recent Form 4 by the CEO. It didn't say whose shares that he bought. They were not retail float, and the volume was huge, like about 500,000 worth. Can you fill in the blanks in regards to that transaction, that Form 4? And this is the one I'm referring to right here.
Well, thank you for showing it to me. I mean, I don't normally pay attention to these, so I'm gonna. Can I punt on that one?
You can get back to me on. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I'm gonna punt on that one. You just kind of threw that at me, but yeah,
absolutely, that's not a problem.
The one thing that I know is that we're not selling. Okay, so I already know that. So it's
clearly not, and not when you're purchasing $500,000 worth of stock.
Right.
So,
but I don't believe it was an open market purchase. But that's the only color that I'll give to you.
All right. Let me look at the chat here. By the way, guys, thanks for tuning in. And if you're a first-time watcher, well, welcome to the BFC and subscribe and join the family. Let's see who we got here. All right. I know I had a couple questions from Doc P. All right. Here's a couple good questions. How does one value and monetize a new biotech drug family and patent that can stop up to 60 plus viral infections?
So, I love this question, right? Right now, it's not fairly valued at all. What you can do is you look to other valuations that are out there in the marketplace, and you look at the viral indications. You look at how far advanced we are in the clinical trial process. So again, I said that we're phase 3 ready. Some of these phase 3 ready antivirals, they're very specific antivirals, not like us. Broad spectrum means not just one indication, multiple indications. And the truth is, we don't know how many indications, right? So when COVID came around, which is arguably the largest market out there, which we address, and we address larger than what these other companies value them at. The valuations were going $500 million for a phase 2 asset. Well, we're more advanced in a phase 2 asset. What's a market cap? 20 million. So, you look at 20 million, you look at $500 million, and you say, so if this gets any exposure whatsoever, that's the market forces. It would not surprise me to take it to that $500 million valuation, right? Does that make sense? So what you do is you look at what other big pharma deals have done in buying out companies. And then the other thing that you do is you look at the indication, and typically a phase 2 is going to go for around 200 million, in a large indication, and a phase 3 ready asset is anywhere in the 750 million to $1 billion area. I mean, it costs $1 billion to develop a new drug. You don't want to know what we put into it, which is a whole lot less because we're so cost efficient. But I mean, that's why phase 3 is valued at those high levels.
Right
So
on.
That answers your question on valuation.
Yeah.
We're
Doc,
undervalued.
Doc is blowing it up here, of course. So let's say he has a couple more questions. Actually, one of them was practically stolen from me, Doc. You're stealing my thunder here. Hey, which is great. That's what this is all about. First-hand due diligence. Why is this BIXT galactid antagonist antiviral technology so important for battling future viruses? Since real vaccines for viruses take a decade or more to create and test.
Have you heard of disease X? Have you heard about that?
Yeah. I've read a little bit about that.
So let's talk about disease X. Is this because we're talking about the future? So the WHO says disease X is going to be 20 times more deadly than COVID-19. This is the WHO. Okay, so there's some people that don't like them. There's some people that watch every word. Whatever your thing is, let's just say it's 2 or 3 times more, not 20. Okay, what are they going to do? How fast are they going to be able to develop a vaccine? Okay, what we have is something that binds the conserved site of a spike protein, and we believe that it works on all different types of variants. We believe it works on, we've already shown in vitro that it works on different types of viruses, completely different families of viruses. So, the future of battling disease X, for example, is probably using a galactid antagonist.
Yeah.
That's the future.
Well, and I could see why that would be beneficial, and I don't want to use the word cure all.
Well, what does a vaccine do? It creates these things called antibodies that neutralize the virus. What is a galactid antagonist? It neutralizes the virus, right? But you don't have.
And we covered that on the show, actually. If you guys have tuned in, he has covered this in depth, by the way. So
you have to create antibodies. That takes time. When you take our molecule, it creates a neutralization agent immediately as soon as it gets into the bloodstream. There's no clonal expansion of cells or any of that stuff. And it does, in theory, it does kind of the same thing. So
all right.
Great question.
Good. I'm glad it was a good answer. I know we could have a whole episode on WHO, the WHO, and so I mean, I could just imagine what the chat would be like, pro, against it, and just like their people's takes on it in general. It's something that maybe we should sit down and have a forum on one of these days and get some opinions out there. And I am going to close with the Doc's question again. The doctor's in the house. And this is your final question. This was one thing I was going to ask you going forward. What are you hoping Bioxy Tran accomplishes in 2024? So like what is, if you could pick one thing that Bioxy Tran is going to capitalize on and be successful at, what are you hoping it is?
We need to hit a milestone of registrational approval in India.
Hmm.
So that's the ultimate milestone, right? So we got our drug approved. This way, when we go to guys that say to you, like, hey, I've been involved in a lot of biotechs, and they never pan out. We can say, well, you were wrong. This one panned out.
Mm.
Because how many biotechs have you interviewed or are going to interview that have something that is even close to an 88% response rate in 3 days, or yet 100% response rate for efficacy? You see, the science clearly shows that we're going to win here as long as we structure the right trial. We're not going to have any issues. So we're really excited about getting registration approval. Now, keep in mind, this will take money. There's no free lunch here. We're going to need to raise money to get this done. We need to find the right investor that can understand the value of our technology and wants to strike it, strike it rich. We haven't found that guy that really, wants to make a lot of money. And that's unfortunate, but we're going to keep trying. We're going to keep looking at the partners. The partnership is another thing that I think that could happen this year. People aren't returning phone calls. They're going to start returning phone calls. It was the new year. So once they start returning phone calls and start looking at what we have, and these biotechs see the value proposition, I think I can sign.
Right on. And as things do progress in the India trial, please keep us up to date.
Absolutely.
I'd like to share these updates, even if you ever want to just hop on just for a quick update or send us a video. I'll make sure that I get out this to the BFC fam. So, Mike, I really want to say thank you for taking the time to come on the show again.
No, my pleasure. Great to be here.
Awesome.
We'll go do Bills, right?
Yeah, go Bills. Go Bills. Now get out of here. Get the heck out of here. No, I'm just kidding. Mike's a great guy. So, yeah, we're really going to keep this party started because I know you guys have a lot of questions for our next two guests. Our next guests have been a contributor to the Fireside for more than a year now. It's hard to think we've been doing it that long. One has funded companies with millions of dollars and is a familiar face in the OTC community. I'm speaking of none other than Brett Rosen. Joining Brett is a BFC OG that has become quite the private placement novice himself. And I'm talking about my good friend, Jord Hugga. Let's bring him in. Gentlemen, welcome back to the BFC. How you doing?
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yep, thanks for having me. Hello, Brett.
Hey, Jordan, what's up?
Well, gentlemen, it's I'm going to get to the chat in a second because I know we have tons of questions. So do I just do the chat? This is what we do. Let's just get right to the chat. Now, by the way, producer Rob's not here, so I'm managing okay on my own, but my security blanket backstage is MIA. He's actually doing a shoot today. So let's take a look at what we have here. And I'm just going to work see, he says, and I noticed that too. The Cyberlux shirt. I want to get one of those. Looks good.
It does. It actually fits amazing too. I mean, it's like one of my best T-shirts.
Hey, it fits you, and that's great stuff. Let's start with Dwayne. All right, Dwayne, what can Brett tell us about the progress of the new OTC lobbyist Congress for CYBL, and what are your expectations with that effort?
I don't even. What do you mean OTC lobbyist? I'm not even sure what that means.
I think
does that mean like a lawyer? Is what he's trying to say?
I think that he's referring to the new lobbyists in Washington that's representing CYBL. The same lobbyist that, if I'm correct, is representing Schwab as well too. So I'm not sure if you could speak to that.
Yeah. I don't really know much about all that. I mean, look, I'm not on the inside of this whole OTC markets thing. I'm not an affiliate of the company. I don't have any inside knowledge of the caveat emptor. I do know the people involved, and I vouch for their credibility and their work ethic and their ability to get this done. So that's why I have faith in it. Do I know exact specifics about the process? Unfortunately, I don't. Don't think I haven't tried. It's just that, like, I mean, look, Mark's in a situation where he can't really say anything to anyone, even me. I mean, I've given him millions of dollars and he still can't tell me because, like, OTC markets and all these places don't want like all this speculation and all this stuff to get out and like before it's actually like made public for real. Do you know what I mean? And like that's what winds up happening. Someone leaks something and then all of a sudden it's like it's on Twitter, it's on StockTwits, it's on like people are emailing it back and forth. And then next thing you know, like it wasn't even a press release. It's not even real news. Like and unfortunately, that's how rumors get started. So, I mean, as far as like the CE removal process and the lobbyists, I really don't know what the lobbyists are doing, to be perfectly honest with you. I do know what the lawyers, that the lawyers are not going to stop until this is done, and even from like a thing, these are like very, very prominent OTC lawyers that like, just from their reputation alone, they're not going to let this sit. They're going to want to show you like, how big their dick is and get the, and get the CE removed. Like, I mean, that's like, that's how it works in this game, unfortunately.
Right on. I hope that answers your question. Dwayne. Question, Dwayne. Say that 10 times. All right. So, Dwayne, thank you for that. Jordan, announcement. You have an announcement regarding your most recent purchase, your most recent private placement. Go for it, sir.
I do. I was able to come to a deal with ILUS to pick up 6 million more shares and 1.7 million shares of SAML, which will become ERT.
You have to be feeling good about that. Tell us more. Could you just allude to the process a little bit? Discuss the process of if somebody wants to do a private placement. I know this could be a question for either of you. What is the most important element when reaching out to a company and trying to make a private placement?
Well, first and foremost, I would argue that having an online presence that's not negative towards the company is helpful, as they tend not to want to do anything that's going to hurt their share price. I think that the reason that I've been allowed to purchase shares privately is because the company knows that I'm not going to sell them as soon as they become available. I'm actually a long-term holder, and so they're not trying to have dilutive processes that do potentially hurt all shareholders, exacerbated if that shareholder goes and just sells for a quick profit. Secondly, obviously, just reaching out to the companies and asking, which gets back to the first point, is that it helps if they know who you are, because if they don't know who you are, it's unlikely that they would want to do that for you. And then, of course, the third thing is just being on the show with you and Brett helps a lot.
I have no hand in that. So, but thanks for the shout out. Now, Brett, on the other hand,
no, trust me, you don't want my endorsement. You're good. The whole internet hates me.
Well, you know what, and that's the thing. You've received a boatload of negative feedback. Correlating you and stock price of companies you've invested in. What can you say about your overall role as a financer? You know what I mean? Like. You can't control it. Obviously, when you get shares dump back into the market, obviously then you could control it and you could hold it.
Yeah. And I know what you're asking. And like, look, I know it's easy to blame the person. You look at the filings, you see who got a huge chunk of stock. You know what I mean? And like, who's probably selling. And look, it's not that I don't want to be paid back. I do want to be paid back. But like, remember, I'm giving like 2-year notes. Like ILUS, for example, I gave them 2-year notes. Cyberlux, I gave them 2-year notes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, most people are giving you a 6-month note, a 9-month note, like that needs to be like, totally, paid back. I don't know. I just think that like people need to realize that like I'm a debt financer. Like that's what I do. Like I loan money to companies. If they don't pay me, okay, unfortunately I have to convert it and get my money back. I mean, it's the same way that like anyone else would do the same thing. I never ever hurt the stock. I never ever sell more than 10%, 15% of the volume ever in a day, and mostly 5 to 10%, to be perfectly honest with you. And if your stock can't handle someone selling 5 to 10% of the volume, then you have a real problem, because like it shouldn't really affect the share price until you're like 20% or more. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, remember, like 10% of the volume is normal trading. Like if stock trades 100 grand and you sell 10 grand worth of stock, your company better be able to handle someone getting out for 10 grand. Do you know what I mean? So,
All right, another question here. Actually, they're coming in quick, so I'm trying to grab them as they're scrolling up here. Brett, any sense how the people side of the integration with Tran and Cyberlux is going?
Sure. I mean, I can actually speak a little bit to this. I did go to Tran. I did get a pretty awesome tour of the place. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it's also super convenient. It's 20 minutes from my house. It was like super easy. They're literally 25 minutes north of me. Like, it's really, really easy to go. Mark was in town, so I met with him, and then he actually had a guy. I can't remember his name right now. He gave me a tour of Tran. He'd been working there for like 30 years. Everyone that works there loves it. Like, it's super weird. Like, you go to a place and like everything, oh yeah, I love my boss. I love, he's great, but they actually hate him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is not this. Like, it is like these people like going there. I mean, it's like unbelievable. And like, they have these, they have like these unbelievable processes. And I think that like the Tran processes are what is really going to propel Cyberlux. I think that they're like assembly and they're like manufacturing is like speeding up the production of drones, I think exponentially is kind of what it is. Because what they're making, I mean, Tran's basically making like radios and stuff, for like, which is awesome, but it's still super technical, it has the same circuit board, same electrical, whatever. So, I mean, like changing over that to just do this, they have all the engineers, all the, the technical guys. I mean, I was super impressed. And like, look, you can tell when like people are putting on a show for you. Like, these people were not putting on a show. Like, they were like dead serious. They loved working there. And I really, really, really think that like this is what's going to propel them forward. Like, this whole, remember, like, they didn't buy Tran for no reason. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, remember, it wasn't cheap. It wasn't, you know what I mean? It's expensive. Like,
the company did almost $1 billion, like 800 something million dollars since 2000. And so some of your years being bigger than others, but this isn't no like mom and pop shop. This is
not some like company where they do like 30 grand a year in revenue and like, the CEO has a $500,000 a year salary. This is like totally different. This is like, yeah, I mean, they have a real business. I mean, even now they're averaging still like what, like 60, 70 mil a year. I mean, it might even be more than that. I mean, but that's amazing. I mean, look, 60, 70 million a year, that's better than most NASDAQ companies, to be perfectly honest with you,
Yeah, I think that based on everything I'm hearing, based on all the reading I'm doing, by the way, welcome Beast Mode. Yeah, he's like Captain Cyberlux DD. Yeah, he's all over it like a bum on a bologna sandwich. He's great.
Amazing. I get half my information from him. Are you kidding me? Like, seriously, like, I mean, he's my own personal due diligence.
If you're in a stock and he's on your team, you're glad that he's on your team. It's sort of like how Eagle is for ILUS.
Exactly.
That's the guy you want in your corner for information and to verify things. But I'll tell you right now, Tran and like what the potential is here. Like, I know we're going on about, oh yeah, $80 million contracts and stuff, and I'm not snubbing that because that's, like you said, more than any company's doing in the OTC in this realm, I guess you could say. But wait until like they start being able to do PRs and potentially like get more deals. I mean, this is me personally, and this is speculation here. I'm just thinking, I think they have way more contracts lined up. And I think once a CE comes off, you're going to see them hammering things. I think it's going to be absolutely massive. I think that this is going to be the likes of something we haven't seen in a very, very long time. And I think we're in a special place right now, especially those of us that have been taking advantage of Speed Trader, which I finally did. I got my Speed Trader account. I got 1.6 million more shares.
I wish I could start buying on Speed Trader. If I could buy on Speed Trader, trust me, I'd have already like driven the price up. But like, unfortunately, like,
why? Yeah, that would be quite the thing. Now, Jordan, you're in Cyberlux as well, correct?
Yes, I am. I had to use a Canadian proxy as we were not privy to Speed Trader yet, but now I do have a Speed Trader account and I'm adding more.
Yeah, your average is nice and pretty. What do you guys get in at 0017, if I'm correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. That's excellent. Will OS, what's going on, brother? Good to have you here. Yes, Cyberlux equals epic, and I do believe that. I mean, there's just so much going on. Looking in the Tran, I think, and it's nice. Somebody mentioned the synergy. It's nice to see management teams getting along. I just did see a recent promotion. For somebody went to be on the board of Cyberlux that's from Tran, so that works out great. You want to have that camaraderie. It's about people. Brett, I think you mentioned that before, where when you invest in a company and you sit down with somebody, it's about investing in people. Everybody wants money. Everybody wants money, but are there people to drive it?
Yeah, exactly. And you have to like sit with someone in person to know that. Like, I mean, you have to like, anyone can lie to you over the phone or an email. It's super easy. It's a whole lot harder to like, tell a super elaborate story to someone's face while you're eating dinner. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like how your girlfriend always knows you're lying. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's the same thing or your wife, you know what I mean? Whatever, same thing. You know, it's like you think you're being all smooth and she's like, yeah, that's bullshit. You know what I mean? Like it's like the same thing here, you know?
Oh, exactly. I never lie to my wife.
So, me either.
That's
I can't.
Right.
It's my business
Right.
partner.
Next
I would be
topic. Next
screwed,
topic.
you know?
All right, here we. So yeah, that's funny. We got to have a little fun here. I'm getting ready for this game. I'm getting absolutely pumped, guys. Make sure take advantage. Just put your questions in the chat. And I'll throw this one out there. Salvatore, Brett, what do we look for first? CE removal, paying current. Still anticipate immediate buyback before price spikes.
All right. I think the CE removal and pink current is going to all just happen at one time. I think that like, and look, this is speculation. I don't have any information to back this up. I'm just like, this is literally from what I've been able to gather kind of nonsense. Like, you know what I mean? I believe it's going to happen this fiscal quarter. Like it will happen before the end of March. I'm hoping it happens in the next 30 to 45 days is kind of what I'm thinking. I know I've said this before, but like, remember, like now I actually like, it's different. Like I know all the attorneys involved. I know like, well, you know what I'm saying? It's a different game now. So I think it's all going to happen just at one time. And as far as like buybacks go, I think Mark is a man of his word, and Mark isn't going to. He didn't talk about buybacks and tell you he's going to do it all this time just to not do it. And remember, like, you know, companies like to do buybacks because, like, number one, it shows the street that you have money. I mean, remember, like, it's hard to do a buyback if you have no money. But like, you know, the other thing is it really like helps to drive like or to bring in like new shareholders, new investors, because like, you know, they're like, wow, if you really invest your own company's money back into your company, it's like when you see a CEO and he actually is buying the stock, you feel a whole lot better about that then instead of the guy that's like, oh, well, I was awarded 1 billion shares, you know, like my cost basis is 0. Like, you know, like, so, I mean, I just think that, you know, that's kind of where we are.
Right on. Has Nick, and we're talking about ILUS here, reached out to you for funding for ERT? Ticker SAML.
I've spoken to him a little bit about it. I have no position in ERT. I have no shares in ERT. I have no convertible debt in ERT. I have no investment whatsoever. I'm sorry, in SAML is what I'm talking about. Yeah, so in SAML, I have absolutely 0 investment, no money into it, nothing whatsoever.
Yeah, there's people cheering.
I can know. Yeah, great. So Nick didn't necessarily reach out to me about funding, yeah, but I do believe that there's someone else in place that's doing the funding. So I don't know who it is or how it works or the structure. I mean, obviously, like it was a little weird to see a huge chunk of shares being added to yesterday. Like, you know what I mean? Like the float was 10 million and they just added 16 million to 10 million. I mean, that's like literally like, you know, it's like 160% of the float. You know what I mean? Like that's right after you say there's not going to be any dilution. It's a weird thing to do. But at the same time, I mean, I understand it. I mean, like you can't get mad at companies for issuing shares because that's how they raise money. Like that's how all companies raise money. And the unfortunate like thing is like, you know, I mean, retail shareholders, I mean, I was a retail shareholder for a long time, so like I get it. But the thing is, when I was a retail shareholder and I went into my E-Trade account or my TD account and I bought $5,000 worth of stock of, you know, ABCD, the thing is ABCD didn't get any of that 5,000. Someone else did. Whoever I bought that stock from got my $5,000, like, you know, minus fees. So I started to realize that like I'm sitting here like, you know, wondering why this isn't working out. I'm like, oh, I've invested so much money, but like I hadn't really invested any money in the company. You know what I'm saying? I invested in the stock. And then remember, if the company doesn't have funding, how is it going to work? I mean, how in the world would your stock price go up if it's just going to be stagnant? Remember, 2021 is over. Like everyone still talks about it like it's it's a normal thing. 2021 was a fluke. Okay, like I've been doing this 18 years. There's never been a 2021. Okay, that was the craziest thing that's ever happened in the OTC markets. Casinos were closed. They were giving out stimulus checks. I mean, like people were like dumping money like YOLO style into the OTC markets without knowing anything. I mean, look, the best thing that could happen was the government gives out stimulus checks again. I mean, that would be like, seriously, I would love it.
Yeah, I'm just pulling up some comments here.
Sure.
Justin, thanks for being here. Salvatore, thanks for being here. Willow S has a good question. Do you think SEC filing could legitimately be done for the 2023 annual report? Or is that something that we should be expecting for the Q1 filings and beyond? Do you think they're going to basically drop all the SEC filings at once? I mean, where do you think they're at in this process?
Cyberlux still, just so we're clear, right?
Yeah, this is Cyberlux.
Okay. So here's the
We're
thing.
bouncing around a little bit, guys. So I know there's 100
Yeah.
people watching. So just roll with it.
So let's just say that, like, you know, you're trying to, what is it? The SEC filing could should be expecting. I mean, look, if you're going to uplist or you're going to, you know, go become fully reporting or go to like a national exchange, you need to have a minimum of 2 years of audited financials. Okay. Now remember, you can't wait a whole other year to do 2024. So they're just going to go back and do the last 2 years. So you're going to see fully audited SEC filings and financials from 2022 and 2023, because now that 2023 just ended, they'll use that as the second year. So they're doing the 2 most recent years, and it's probably their 2 most profitable years. I mean, like, look, Cyberlux is one of the look. I think Mark's incredible, and it's one of the only companies that's taken millions of dollars of my money and turned it into millions and millions and millions more. And I'm not saying no one's ever done this, but like, remember, like, Mark isn't asking me for money every week. He's not saying, oh, I don't want to give you any shares, but I need $1 million. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the state of things now, because everyone sees how every stock is down. Every stock is down. It's not just stocks I invest in. It's every single stock. They're all down. Okay. And people are mad. And I get that. Like I'm not happy about it either. Like, okay, like it sucks. But like, you know, calling companies a scam because the stock went down 20%. And while you own the stock is like the dumbest thing in the world you can possibly do. I mean, it's like registering yourself as a sex offender or not a sex offender. I mean, it's like the craziest thing in the world. Why would you go do it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so stupid. And then you're wondering why the stock price isn't going up. Well, you're out there calling it a scam. And remember, bad news travels way faster than good news. You ever see Twitter? No one makes you prove anything when it's bad news. They could be like, oh, Brett died. Oh, that's great. That's awesome. You know, but if I was like, Brett won the lottery, bullshit, post a ticket. I want to see this. I mean, like, good news has to be proved beyond a reasonable doubt. But like, it's so funny the way like everybody believes bad news without any proof.
Well, you know why? Is because 90% of it's garbage. And 90% of it you have to get out of immediately. Once the price, you know what I mean? And so it's hard. And that's one thing that we're doing here. And George's been along for this ride. I'm trying to find the gems. I'm trying to find the legitimate companies, the ones that want to sit down and talk about the inner workings of their business, the ones that want to sit down and talk about their products, talk about their contracts, talks about their patents, talks about how they want to, like, more. I want to use this channel more for just PR, even though it is PR and IR for companies. But I want the real dogs that plan on going places and increasing revenue. You know, like look at it, ticker SFIO. Siptit told me about that one. If you look at it, they're sustaining, even through the pandemic, they sustained their balance sheet. The revenues are there, and the stock prices are traced just like many of these real companies over the last 12 months. Right now, like that ticker, and I'm just bringing SFIO and using that as an example, I'm going to buy that because it's down and it's way undervalued. And you know, I have a couple good questions. For one good question here, Barry the Great, by the way. Good day, good to have you. He actually got me an interview. He got the VAPR guys on. That was a great interview. If you haven't watched it, give it a check out. Check out the channel. And hey, guys, I should see 114 likes on this video. So, hey, come on. I'm doing this every once or twice a week. We're doing live Q&A. Which stocks, and this is for both of you guys, are you guys most confident in the next 3 to 4 months? If you could just rattle off a couple and give a little synopsis, go for it.
I mean, I'm going to say CYBL just because I firmly believe that this caveat emptor will be off in the next 3 to 4 months. So I think that once that caveat emptor comes off, it's going to be the biggest turnaround story in the history of the OTC markets. Like, no one's doubting their business. I mean, except a few morons on the internet. I mean, like, there's no one actually doubting. I mean, like, the DOD isn't posting fake information on their website. Let's just say that. Okay, they're not like, oh, they're not trying to toot Cyberlux's horn because they're not making them drones. You know what I mean? So I think that's going to be a huge one. Let's see. I mean, it's 3 to 4 months is a hard time frame because, like, unfortunately, like in the OTC markets, 3 to 4 months really means 6 to 8 months because, like, everything takes twice as long as every company tells you. Everything is twice as long. So 3 to 4 months is going to be hard. I mean, if I were just 3 to 4 months, I would go with just Cyberlux right now.
Okay, Jordan, couple.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The only reason I stopped purchasing Cyberlux like so many other people is because of the caveat emptor.
Correct.
So I just pivoted over to ILUS. But now with what we know, it really just seems like it's going to be a question of how quickly they can get it removed. And like Brett was saying, if it's just the 2 years of filings or whatever it is it needs, it's going to come off eventually. And when it does, it's going to erupt. I do like SAML again, just because everybody has a short memory in the OTC, and they can still remember QIND and what that was able to do.
Yeah.
Now, of course, it's retraced from like the 62 cents back down to 9 or 10, but it seems really obvious as they announce their filings and they push back their annual shareholders meeting to allow for that good news to be available. Seeing the annual shareholders meeting is kind of just a meetup otherwise.
Yeah.
That once they move those assets in and show that on the books with a reasonable share structure, I think that has everywhere in the world to go up.
Yeah.
Okay. For
Well,
me,
one more thing. I just had one more. I forgot. Remember,
Yeah.
I was talking to you the other day on the phone. I actually have no investment in this company. I don't own any shares, but the symbol is FLES. I'm only saying this because like the company's autopartsforless.com basically is they sell auto parts on the internet, but the whole value of the float, like they did a reverse and then never uplisted. Okay. So they have 7.9 million shares in their outstanding. Their float is valued at $50,000 and the stock's only a penny. So like, I mean,
market cap of 7 million, and yeah, it's not
unbelievable. Yeah,
no,
yeah.
it's not even a market cap. It's in the tens of 70,000.
No,
70,000
the
market cap.
cap's like 79 grand. Seriously,
Yeah.
of the entire stock.
Literally, who wants to buy a FLES?
You want to go in halves, Brett?
See, that's what I'm saying. I'll split it with you. We can own everything. We own the whole float.
7 million outstanding shares. So, I mean, a couple stocks I'm looking at. So, by the way, that ticker was FLES. I'll just, you guys take a look at it. And maybe I'll jump in on that one just for fun. So one I'm looking at is QIND. I think we're gonna see an uplist in the next 3 to 4 months. I think that is going to have a good return on investment. My number one time wise, and hey, I know I'm ILUS boy here, but I am saying timeline wise, I think CYBL is going to be straight there, right on with one of the biggest movements in the OTC that we've seen in a very, very long time. One stock that I'm looking at, and by the way, there's a lot of reverse merger plays coming up, is IGPK. Now I've done so much due diligence on that one, although old due diligence is out the window, and we're sort of making a lot of headway. Masterpicks has done a great job. A Super Robot, a bunch of those guys, Eagle, a Stock Player 30, have done crazy due diligence into the new reverse merger, and we're talking about a $70 billion valuation American. All right, that's what we're looking at. If I'm correct, if I'm wrong, you guys could correct me in the video. But I'm telling you right now, I think IGPK could be the reverse merger of. Now, listen, these reverse merger plays, and I've talked to Lisa Matthews about this. They don't go up for 12 months straight. There's like this nice time frame, this nice window where you get like 6 to 8 weeks to work with.
Max.
Yes, you know what I'm saying, and so you get that, and yeah, I like to push things out a little bit, and so when you talk about like for example IGPK, which I got at 0007, I'm just saying, do I think that I don't do price targets here, but I think based on the valuation of the company, and if you have Chinese retail investors, and if you have American retail basically working in tandem, jacking up the share price, I think we're going to see something there that we have not seen reverse merger wise in a very, very long time. And there's more DD that's being built now. So IGPK, love it. CYBL, love it. ILUS, I think we're moving in the right direction now. I think we've broken the downward trends. I think it's gonna be a nice, slow, steady crawl up. But listen, I've been covering this for 2 years, and I said this is at least a 3 to 5 year hold, and I'm gonna stick to that. And we're still in the midst of all that. So I'm ILUS boy all day. All right, but QIND is gonna look well. Jordan, I'm with you with SAML as well. And don't forget CGRA, that share price is completely retraced, and we're gonna see what they do with the renewables aspect of that. And we'll see in regards to the CEO situation how that goes. If there's any tickers, and ABQQ, I think that's one I actually just jumped in that this week. That's one that looks all right. It looks like they're gonna. If you look at the share price of that thing back in the day, it was $10, $20. So they're trying to buy back shares. They're going to try and drive up the price, and I'm fine with that because I only have 500,000 shares. But I think that's going to have some nice upside there too. So I hope I didn't mean to talk so long, guys, but those are some that I'm looking at right now in the near future. IGPK and CYBL. So that's it for me. Anything else, gentlemen?
Optech, OPTI. That's all I can say.
How are things going? How are things going over
it's
there?
actually not bad. Like, look, I'm just waiting on some stuff from the court so I can get a hold of like basically like OTC markets access, take over the company, that kind of thing. Like, but like it's already like all in control. Like, I mean, I have another company that's ready to go into it. I can't tell you about it just yet, but there will be announcements. I'm going to put out a press release, I think, in the next like couple weeks about the law, the settlement, the way it works and everything, because like Optech has more shareholders than pretty much any OTC company that exists almost. I mean, they at one point they had like 98,000 shareholders. It's like 10 times the average NASDAQ company. I mean, it's insane. I mean, seriously. So, I mean, like, look, all I need to do is put a different company in there. And I'm doing this, like, look, obviously I want my money back. I mean, I'm owed $14 million now, you know what I mean? Like, but I want it back. But at the same time, and I honestly do, like I got fooled. Okay. Like I admit it. I got screwed. I got fooled, but so did a lot of other people. And I really just want to like make this like right for them. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to, I mean, my money getting paid back is after everybody else. And that's all in writing. That's all, everything. Like everybody else gets paid back. It's made whole before I get $1. You know what I mean? So I'm not doing this to just get paid right away. And look, I had an offer to buy my settlement. So the settlement's like 14 million and change. I didn't offer at $10,500,000. I could have just taken that about a month and a half ago and walked away from all this. And I didn't. And that would have been the smart thing to do. Trust me. It would have been definitely should have taken the money. But like, you know what I mean? I'm doing this because I actually want to like clean up a company and show you how it actually can work when it's not being diluted like crazy all the time, like for no reason. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's like, you know, there's certain people on the internet who are CEOs of other public companies, you know, like, you know, that they're all down 99%. And like, you know, what do they tell their shareholders? You know, they're like, well, what do you tell them? Like, oh, hey, you know, it's been a bad year, you know? I mean, it's like ILUS. Like, I mean, I feel bad for Nick and JP, to be perfectly honest with you. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like 2022 and 2023 were like the fucking worst years ever of the OTC markets. I mean, like seriously terrible. I mean, all the failed IPOs in 2022, all the people that were supposed to uplist that didn't uplist. I mean, like all the promises that were made because like there was supposedly tons of money flowing. The problem was because everyone thought 2021 was going to carry over into 2022. And then when that didn't happen, it was a reality check. It was a wake-up call for everyone, like myself included. I mean, like I was sitting there like riding highs, selling stock every day, making a fortune. And then I went to like zero. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh shit, everything changes, you know? And then I started like, you know, I did a conversion on ILUS at like a penny. Then all of a sudden the stock market goes down to like 0.007 or something. I mean, like all because like, then I found out there was a toxic lender that also did some, I mean, like, you know, and then, so what did I do? I pulled out my checkbook and I paid off the toxic lender to get them to stop. You know what I mean? Like, so like, I really do want these companies to work out, but I want them to work out in the right way. Like, you know what I mean? I don't need them to become share selling schemes. I don't need them to become like, I don't need to get paid back by diluting everyone down to nothing. I want to get paid back real money. Like when someone owes me $10 million, I want to get paid back on you making the NASDAQ. I want you to like, that's how we all get paid. Like, or like a SPAC deal or something where like, they're going to take out my debt plus interest. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to get like 100 to 1 on like on $1 million. I mean, like no one's turning $1 million into 100 million. I mean, unless it's like crazy crypto shit from back in the whatever. But like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, in reality, in the OTC markets, like that doesn't really happen. You know what I mean? Like, so.
Right on. Jord, final thoughts. I'm just laughing at some of the comments here. But oh, by the way, Brett, what do you think about the new swag?
Oh wow, you have mugs and everything now?
Yeah, we got the merch. Actually, I'm not wearing my pole today just because of the Bills game.
Well, yeah,
but I'm loving this.
You gotta get beer mugs. You gotta get the beer glasses, like the, you know.
What do you think is in here?
Well, I mean, I know. You're like on a reality show. I mean, you gotta like see through it. You know. You gotta, you know.
Oh yeah, I got my little pregame Budweiser in here.
Yeah. Well, of course. I mean, you're a Bills fan. You started drinking on Friday.
Yeah, my kids are out there smashing tables right now.
Exactly.
Yeah. But you know what? Wait, actually, who said it? Who said it? Oh yeah, Tom. I'll like it if you jump on a table. And guess what? Here it is. I'm saying this out, and I've said this before. If the Bills win the Super Bowl, actually, hell, if they go to the Super Bowl, I will do a table jump live. I'll do it live. All right.
He's like, not his own table. He's going to break his neighbor's table, but either way.
I'll buy a table and I'll smash the damn thing for you guys. We'll light it on fire.
What?
Well, that's what we'll do. We'll light the damn
careful.
thing
I
on
don't know.
fire, and I
saw
will
that
smash
video.
it. You think?
Go
Trust
Bills.
me. Yeah, go. We will go Bills. No,
See,
somebody's
remember,
gonna hold me to
I grew
that.
up in Buffalo, so I know how crazy it is. I mean, my
yeah.
mother's like a diehard Bills fan. She didn't even care. She'd like dress up in like ski gear and like go and sit outside, like it's like 0 degrees outside, like snowing, it was nuts.
Yeah, there's such an atmosphere. You know, I mean, at the stadium, we almost went to the game this week, and I'm like, you know what? They're just gonna sit tight at home and stuff, you know, and just enjoy it. The kids
Rent
can
out your
watch.
driveway.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's just like, you know, you don't have to wait to go to the bathroom. You could make your
Correct.
food and just sort of have the luxury. But there is nothing like being at the game. I don't care like what fan you are of whatever team. If you're a football fan, you gotta come to a Bills game. And leave alive. You want to leave healthy.
It's the only place you can see a guy that like he's an investment banker and then he's pissing in a sink on Sunday afternoon. So it's pretty much the only place you can see that. Like, you know.
Oh, dude, and it's just crazy. I mean, it's amazing. It's like there's this little vortex in Orchard Park where it's like, all, like you said, all normal people. Oh, you got investment bankers, all school teachers. You know, get running in front of cars, having sex, and you know the Johnny on the spots or whatever. Like, it's insane. Like, and I swear, and this is the truth. This is the God's honest truth. All right, we have this little game, and right when the game starts, and sometimes it's before the game starts, we wait to hear the sirens because I'm literally like, you could draw a line from me to the stadium. It's like 1.5 miles. So whatever the sirens start happening. So when shit goes awry, and if we beat Kansas City today, you're going to hear sirens going off. You know what? It wasn't even we had that big storm, but this is the thing. If we would have had that game last week, people would have got drunk. People would have froze to death, guaranteed. So,
yes,
and it has actually happened. You know, between people getting hit by the cars, getting, you know, it's insane. Like, there's people that, like, you know, like, oh, I know that guy that got arrested at a Bills game. It's just,
or he froze to death in his car because he got there 2 days before the fucking game. That's what's insane to me. Like, you know, the game's on Sunday. Why are you getting there Friday afternoon? Like, you know, like
people get there in their RVs on Friday.
I know. I cannot believe it.
It's insane.
I still think and then they don't sleep for 2 days.
Yeah, it's insane. It's so if you have a chance to check out a Bills game, you gotta check one out. You gotta do it. You gotta do it. Just bring protective gear.
Yes. And definitely wear Bills clothing. Don't wear the other team's jersey, like, or anything. Like, don't wear the home team stuff. I promise. Like,
yeah, like I'm not going to Pittsburgh, or I'm not going to Philadelphia for sure.
Definitely.
And wearing opposing. Hey, no. Hey, listen, Anthony DeVito. I'm not picking up Philadelphia. All right, guys. Final thoughts. Jordan, I'll start with you, and then Brett.
You know, I just wanted to thank Brett and Mike for coming on, and of course you, E-Rock. I'm super excited. Like Brett was saying earlier, context matters. You know, the fact that we were all part of one of the greatest 11-year bull runs and one of the best bull runs in OTC history was wonderful. But because of that pullback, just like when they print all the money and inflation happens, it opens up possibilities for future investments. And so since so many of these companies are equal or undervalued right now, for those that can pick out the good ones, buy and hold, I think that we're in for a great couple of years, even if it's going to be a slower run than what people want.
Excellent, sure. Thank you very much. And if you could include this in on your closing, and this is Chris. I met Chris down in Miami at the ILUS shareholder meeting last year. Hi, Chris. How are you? Quick question for Brad. What's up with Cirque? If you could give a quick synopsis on that.
I talk to Brad and Wanda every week, pretty much. By the end of this quarter, they should be cash flow positive. Like I said, I extended their line of credit an extra $1 million from 2 to 3, so they've already taken it. So, like, you know, it's got nothing to do with the stock. It's not even convertible. It's just about getting paid back 1% a month. The real thing that's hurting Cirque, and when I say hurting Cirque, I know because you guys are all talking about the stock. You're not talking about like the company. You mean like what's wrong with the stock? It's the 3810. I mean, there's nothing that you can do about it. I mean, like, look, I mean, the 3810, they're selling so much that my broker made me file that 13G the other day. Like, I had to file that thing that said I own 201 million shares. Like, I mean, like, that's not even a requirement. Like, you shouldn't have to file anything until you're like over 9.99%. You know what I mean? And I'm like 5.2 or 5.3%. I mean, it was like super weird. It's only because so many shares are coming into the market. And like, the problem with like stock being 0007 or 0006 is it takes billions of shares to clear thousands of dollars, like, or millions of dollars. You know what I mean? Like, it's because think about this. I mean, at 0006, I mean, what is 1 million shares worth? Do you know what I'm saying? $600. Do you know what I mean? It's nothing. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, so like, unfortunately, like they're trying to clear off like millions and millions of dollars worth of debt with like 0006 stocks. So like, I just think that like once the debt is gone, they will essentially be able to, their business will be able to reflect itself a little bit more realistically. It'll be able to show like, hey, look, you know, this is, you know, because like, look, I mean, they're doing real revenue. Like they're doing real business, real revenue. Like they have jobs. Like, I mean, I'm trying to get the guy to like post pictures and stuff, but like, you know, he's just not that type of guy. You know what I mean? Like he's not gonna like go in there and take pictures of his lunch and then post it on Twitter. You know what I'm saying? Like he just like isn't the kind of guy that Brad is. Like, you know, but I mean, like I said, I mean, I called him the other day. I hammered him about some like shareholder update, and then he wrote a letter the next day. So I mean, like that's pretty cool. I mean, like, but I mean,
yeah. And any closing thoughts in general for everybody for ILUS shareholders?
George said it the best over here. I mean, you know, he said like, you know, like you got to find a few long-term plays, and like, you know, like, and the problem with like the OTC markets now with what's happening is like obviously it's consolidated. Like, you know, it's there's not many funders left. There's not many lenders left. And unfortunately, like 95% of these companies are either bullshit or never going to make it. Do you know what I mean? Like, and unfortunately, like that's the real number. You have to find those 5 because those 5%, that's where the real money is. Like, you know what I mean? Like all like the biggest paydays of my life were because of like, I've been in the stock for 3 years. Do you know what I'm saying? There was never, ever, ever a time where I bought a stock and a week later I was a millionaire from it. That's never, ever, ever happened. And like when people post that shit on like Twitter, it's like hilarious. Like you can tell how photoshopped it all is. Like, you know, oh, I have 1.7 billion. Sure, dude, you know, I just think that, you know, people need to remember, you know, the fundamentals of this. And unfortunately, the fundamentals in the OTC markets don't always apply, as we all know. It's running on hype and stuff. It's not running on like, you know, I mean, how many companies do you guys know where they're valued at 2 weeks of their revenue? Like, I mean, there's lots of those companies. On the NASDAQ, there's no such thing as that. There's no such thing as a company that's valued at like 2 weeks of their revenue, you know, because it trades more on fundamentals. The OTC markets, that's why the goal has to be to get off of it. That's why, like, you know, me and Jordan are talking about like ILUS and stuff like that, like in QIND and ERT, like those are all companies that have a real chance of either rolling all up into one company or individually rolling themselves out in a different NASDAQ and New York Stock Exchange vehicles. And that's how everyone is going to get paid on those ones. Remember, the stock, look, there's not going to be another 2021 bull run. It's not going to go from 0005 to 50 cents again. It's not going to happen. Okay. But if they uplist and the uplist works, I mean, like, you know, everybody always focuses on the ones that don't work because it's easy to bitch about things. Okay. But a lot of them do work out incredibly. Like I've done some that have been insane. I mean, EXPI, I mean, you guys should look at EXPI. It was 27 cents in February of 2015. Over the course of 3.5 years, it went to $19 on the OTC markets. It uplisted to the NASDAQ.
Wow.
In September of 2018 or 17, I think it's 18. It was $19. Day one, every moron sold. It went down from $19 to $12. Listen to this. Within 3 months, it was $160 a share. No reverse split from 27 cents.
Wow.
So this shit does happen, like, you know what I mean? And unfortunately, like, it doesn't happen every day. Otherwise, everybody would be rich. You know what I mean? But like,
yeah,
you know, we just have to, like, you know, remember that, like, when those like monsters come along, like, you know, it does make up for like a lot of the other bullshit. I mean, like, you know, like, look, I mean, I've taken huge losses, and people are like, oh, do you ever win? I'm like, fuck. Sometimes I ask myself that too. But it's like, I mean, like, look, you gotta remember, like, you know, you might lose like, you know, $500,000 here, but you get back $1.5 million or however it works. I mean, I'm not just making up the numbers. It's all relative. You know what I mean? It's just like I said, I think that the OTC markets is in for a resurgence. I don't think it's in for like a boom time again. Like, do you know what I mean? But a resurgence is fine with me. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's just get it back to the point where people actually believe in it and trade stocks. You know what I mean?
Right on. And I'm going to personally thank you, George. Thank you, Brett. I really appreciate you guys. I'm glad we have a strong friendship. And you guys are awesome. I want to thank everybody that watched the show today. You know, the showing up and asking questions. That's what this is all about. The BFC due diligence from the source. I got to say, go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills. And remember, guys, there is more that binds us than breaks us. Peace out.
Oh my God! You're on fire, dude! Roll! Roll!
Stop, drop, and roll.
Jesus! What a bad idea.